I'll come to the refugee crisis.
Yes.
And the position and the image of Germany in the last 2 months in dealing, actually in reacting to the refugee crisis. My question is, why actually the crisis emerged in the last 2 months, although the crisis of Libya and Syria have been now more than 4 years. Although the Germany, Turkey, Athens as well, they know that all the refugees that are waiting their turn to get on board in the Mediterranean, in Bodrum, in Izmir, in Turkey, and so the borders are open. So why did Germany select now to absorb and to deal positively with the refugee crisis and to show the psychology of the sober in Europe and trying to undermine the Dublin Convention and the other protocols of the refugees and all these things. So actually, from my understanding, that they behaved or they reacted individually as a country, otherwise in cooperation with the other German organization. So, and the other question very quick. So I see that Germany failed to control Europe in the 40s, but now in the last 7 years, 8 years, they succeeded to control Europe through the different mechanisms and the institutions or in the enlargement or the EU. So what do you think in that sense?
Well, on the refugee crisis, I think that clearly Germany, Chancellor Merkel belatedly, because for months she was berated by Germans for not doing enough, adopted a much more positive and indeed exemplary policy of welcoming refugees and indeed of ignoring, as you say, the Dublin rules and saying that all Syrians, asylum seekers, would be welcomed in Germany. And I think that's a very positive example that she set to others. That said, there is a downside to it. I mean, the first is that it's great to say that you're going to welcome Syrian refugees, but neither she nor EU institutions have offered refugees safe passage. So they continue to die and they continue to struggle to try to get to Germany, not least because there's now a Hungarian razor wire fence in the way. Secondly, that reimposing border controls, the in effect temporary suspension of the Schengen Agreement, while perhaps understandable, I think sends a terrible signal that basically wars are going up across Europe, and it has political consequences. For example, in my own country, Britain, where government ministers are saying, well, hang on a minute, we were told freedom of movement was not up for negotiation as part of a renegotiation of our EU membership. When Germany wants to, they can reimpose border controls because of an emergency influx of foreigners. Why can't we do the same thing for EU migrants? So I think it sends a bad example. Thirdly, that while it's good to apply moral suasion to encourage others to welcome more refugees, I think that some of the strong-arm tactics used for countries which frankly have acted despicably, like Viktor Orban's Hungary or Robert Fico's Slovakia, have overstepped the mark. I don't think, again, it's in Germany's say-so to be able to say cut off regional and cohesion funds for the structural and cohesion funds for those countries. And I don't think actually it's counterproductive. I think it's counterproductive to try and force countries that really, really don't want refugees to take them. I mean, how welcome is a Syrian going to feel in a country such as Slovakia, which says Slovakia is for Slovaks, not for minorities, or in Hungary. So overwhelmingly it's a positive. Overwhelmingly German position has been positive, but it displays some of the hallmarks of the mistakes made in the Eurozone crisis, i.e. unilateralism, and then having acted unilaterally, trying to impose costs, or at least perceived costs, on others. And in terms of your other question, I don't think there's a comparison between the 1940s and now. I think that, yes, we have a dominant Germany. I don't think it's sought that dominance. I think that dominance has kind of arrived as part of the crisis. And I think that Germany's not good at being a hegemon. They're not good at taking into account the interests of the system as a whole. They're not, and they confuse often their own self-interest with the wider interests, and they infuse their decisions with spurious morality. So they think they're virtuous in the Eurozone when actually morality has nothing to do with it.
I think you'll join me in giving a round of applause to